This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points is sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your Houston area Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
We are ready to rock in Houston. Touchdown, Houston! Are you kidding? What a catch! Oh, baby!
Well, hello there, and welcome into Texans Extra Points. This is going to be a fun one. Myself, Drew Dougherty, with my good pal Ron Hughley of Sports Radio 610. You can hear him in the afternoons. We got a lot to discuss. You ready to kind of fix some things, maybe complain about some things, help some things?
I stay ready, Drew.
All right.
I stay ready, baby.
That's why he's here. That's why Ron
right.
is with us. Okay, good stuff. We got to turn to some news of the week, though, and for that, we turn to quick hits. On Sunday in Tennessee, Tyrod Taylor will start at quarterback for the Texans, and it comes after a week off, and it comes, which the week before was a tough struggle in Miami. So, is Tyrod ready for the Titans? We think so.
I expect him to bounce back. He's always been a hard worker, and he's always, regardless of what anyone has said about his performance or anything like that, I know that he's critiqued it harder, and he's looked at it many more times than anyone else. And he's also worked at the things that have happened and the things that he has to get better at, anything that he considers a deficiency.
The same offensive line that started 2 weeks ago against the Dolphins will take the field against the Titans in Nashville. Laramie Tunsil, the left tackle, is not ready. Texans still going with the crew that they saw 2 weeks back.
We're gonna use the same line we had last game out. You know, we'll start the same guys that we had. Justin's not quite ready yet, and Laramie's not quite ready yet. But the thing about what this team does is it brings out the physicalness in it. They're a very physical front. They play that way. They play that way defensively, and we got to match that.
And there's been a change in the secondary. Lonnie Johnson is no longer a safety. He's back at cornerback, which is where he was drafted in 2019 out of Kentucky.
We feel good about Lonnie being there as he starts to get more comfortable there. If we felt like we needed to play Lonnie within that group, we'd put Lonnie out there.
Meanwhile, the team the Texans will face is without King Henry. The running back, Derrick Henry, will not play against the Texans this Sunday, and neither will wide receiver Julio Jones. Still, Tennessee, though, is a dominant force if you listen to these Texans.
And they still got a lot of confidence in their backs. I mean, they got some good backs. I mean, just because it's not 22 back there, I mean, they still are some well-respected backs who can get the job done as well. So, I mean, it's not going to change our approach at all. We still got to make sure we get our 11 hats to the ball and get us where we want to go.
Okay, so that's some of the news of the week in Texans land. Ron Hughley, you are with us. Let's talk about the week off. What might that have been able to help offensively as far as a refresh, a kickstart, one of those type of euphemisms for just getting back and going?
What I would hope is some change, something where they've been able to, because this is a sample size, right? They've got a pretty good sample size of 8-9 weeks to take a look at what it is that they do well and what it is that has not worked, and maybe some things that they can change. And so I'm hoping that's what happens in this week off. Maybe we saw little glimpses of Brevin Jordan coming around, and he's somebody that's got some effective talent that a lot of people, I know we talked to John Harris, both our guys, who said he thinks he could be the steal of a draft. Hopefully a guy like him, you get more out of him, and maybe just seeing, the emergence of Nico Collins to see more things. Just hopefully some change. Can we get a little spice?
Yeah.
A little spice, right? Like the focus to me of just not turning it over, which is a big deal, but let's also, see some potentials for big plays or attempts at that.
Which we saw in the first week and a half of the season, and then it sort of went away because you had a rookie quarterback. Were you as surprised as I was by what we saw from Tyrod Taylor in the return? Because that didn't look like the guy we'd seen at the start of the season. It did look like the guy we'd seen throughout his career, and he's been in the league for 10 years now.
I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was. I just can't believe that's Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that he will continue to play that way, but he's really got to pick it up. That can't be the case because all the reasons that it felt like David Culley wanted to play him, preferred to play him over the rookie, and why he was the starter, he showed the opposite of that. Very careless with the ball. bad decisions, as David Culley said after the game. So I can't believe that's Tyrod Taylor.
And then if you flip things over to the run game, I think everybody starting at the top, David Culley, Tim Kelly, the offensive coordinator, they've got to be infuriated by what they've just seen on the whole this season and just the lack of execution, lack of success in the run game. How does that get jiggled and maybe helped out?
I just got to be honest, man. This is 2 years in a row, and I think you almost got to find a spot of, all right, these are run plays that we do well, and this is what we're going to run.
Right.
Because it's just hard to think that's going to improve.
Yeah, well, there's one way that it might. We heard from Chris Conley, the receiver, earlier in the week. He said you got to get things going through the pass game to help out the run game, and our own John Harris kind of illustrates that in the Telestrator. Check it out.
Welcome to Texas Telestrator, presented by BMW. I'm your host, John Harris, football analyst, sideline reporter. And if there's one thing the Texans need to be able to do to last 8 weeks of the year, it's run the football. Now, when I say run the football, yeah, I'm talking about traditional handoffs and those things, but there are other ways to run the football and become proficient at doing so. So we're going to go to the surface from our friends at Microsoft and take a look at one different way of running the football, because that's essentially what this turns into. So the Texans are going to come out here with 12 personnel. One back, 2 tight ends right here, Auclair and Akins, 2 wide receivers right over here. The Dolphins are in their base set. So they're going to come out in essentially 3-4 base look. I mean, they're just base, going to try and figure this out. This is early in the game, and they're going to play cover 3 behind it. So third of the field. And the Texans are just, looks like run right here. Outside zone, easy, away you go. Chris Conley's going to cross the formation, maybe split that zone, and that might give Philip Lindsay maybe some opportunities to cut. However, oh no, Tyrod's going to pull the ball down. But he does a good job with his ball handling. And then all of a sudden, here's Connolly. Here's Akins. Now, if Akins had gotten out a little bit earlier, that essentially would have been a pass to Akins. But Jordan kind of got locked up on Van Ginkel over there. Kind of stayed on it. He was trying to get off, it looked like. And Van Ginkel's holding him. Either way, now it becomes just a little flip out to Conley. It's just like a long toss play. But you don't really have to worry about blocking anybody over there because all the action was brought this way. Again, just a different way of running the football. Because you get it to Conley, and look, he's behind the line of scrimmage when he caught it. Let me see if I go back. He catches it right there, turns up, and now he's got all kinds of room. It's a wonderfully constructed play to run the ball a different way. Yeah, it's a throw. Tyrod gets passing stats, but that's a run play, essentially, just getting Conley out to the edge, one of your fast athletes out to the edge to make something happen. Let's take a look at it from the end zone view, and you can see how Miami bites. You see how all this is going this way, This guy right here, Christian Wilkins, actually does a pretty good job of understanding. He's the only one. And so he starts to get upfield. The nice thing is Conley gets out here and just beats that one guy. And Wilkins, instead of going to Tyrod, he goes to Conley. Well, he's not going to catch him. That was his mistake. But there was only one guy in Miami that read that play right, and that allowed Tyrod to throw the ball to Conley, turn it into a long toss sweep. Yeah, run the ball, yes. Run the ball, definitely.
Delhomme gets the snap. Looking, pumping, firing back of the end zone. Caught! Brian Johnson! Touchdown, Houston! 14 seconds to go.
Welcome back. How about that? We're going way back in the vaults for that one. Texans obviously playing the Titans. This is Texans Extra Points. That's Ron Hughley from Sports Radio 610. But Jake Delhomme coming in for TJ Yates at the end of that 2011 season. It was week 17. The final touchdown pass of Jake Delhomme's storied career goes to Bryant Johnson. And the Texans went for 2 on that next play because they either wanted to win or lose. They didn't want to play overtime going into the playoffs. And the snap went over Delhomme's head, and they waved it off.
I didn't know I was going to hear Jake Stallone's name
That's right.
today. How about that?
We bring all sorts of stuff up.
You
man.
never know.
So let's talk about this defense. It's kept the Texans in some games. It kept them in this last game against the Dolphins. 5 takeaways. I mean, a part of that is you're playing a bad team in Miami, but they get that going again and things are looking good. What have you seen from them on the whole? What do they got to get better at, you think?
Well, I mean, the defensive line has continued since training camp to be the strength of the team, even though they have, had some injuries and traded guys like Charles Omenihu. But it's clear the number one piece that they're getting out of this year to move forward with is Jonathan Grenard.
Yeah.
52 is something special now, and he's been big time for them. And then and also Jacob Martin on the other side has been really good. And they just played solid. I mean, to be honest, they're just being hurt big time by their offense, inability to sustain drives and turn the ball over and put them in bad spots. Because it just seems like clockwork. Boy, and I think it was different against Miami. They were in that. But the third quarter somewhere, like the dam breaks.
Yep.
And they're tired. They're out the whole time. And I think it's a difficult deal to look at your offense and feel like, man, we're struggling in a major way, and it's hard to see us scoring points to get back in it. So they could really gain some help from their offense, but I think they've been really solid. And the scores of these games, I think, are a bit unfair to what their defense has done.
Yeah, let's stick with Grenard. I want to get into Lonnie Johnson in just a second, but with Grenard, it's almost like this is a redshirt freshman season because COVID, everything going on with the dysfunction of last year. He's finally had a full offseason. He's getting to get after it. You see why he led the SEC in sacks the year before in 2019. This guy is just getting started. You hear Lovie Smith say it. You hear David Culley say it. This is exciting stuff that you see, and he's clearly a building block.
He is, and I think the real part that's becoming excited is, listen, I think people will say, oh, the Texans are terrible, and their record is awful.
Sure.
But teams still go and game plan for guys.
Yep.
And it is clear the second half of the year that Jonathan Grenard is a guy that teams are game planning and saying, all right, who are we going to stop? Who's not going to beat us?
Get open
52.
to everything else.
And he is still being productive while teams are game planning for him. And that's a big sign, in my opinion. All right, teams know you're good. You can have a couple of good weeks. But now they're saying we're not going to let 52 ruin the game for us. And he's still being very productive. That's a very impressive thing for a young kid to still be able, like Aaron Donald does it every week. Jeffrey Simmons, who they're going to run into, does it every week. To see that from Jonathan Grenard, that's a big-time step for him.
No doubt. All right, in 30 seconds or less, what'd you think of the move, safety to corner by Lonnie Johnson?
I just feel like it's tough for him to get a footing. Listen, he hasn't been great himself. He's got to play better. But I think it's hard for him to be flip-flop from one position to the other, one system to the other. So I just don't think it's been the best for him in terms of situation.
All right, we got more to get into, specifically the Titans and what they offer after the break. But before we do, we've got some Texans trivia. There's 6 former Texans on this Tennessee Titans squad. Can you name 3 of them? We'll have that answer later on in Texans Extra Points.
Matt gets the snap. Flag down. Matt throws downfield to his left. Hits Lestar-Jean. 35-30, 25-20, 15-10, 5 to the pylon. And Lestar-Jean is in for a Texans touchdown. 54 yards.
We're back on Texans Extra Points, coming at you from the Ford Studios. Lestar-Jean from Matt Schaub, December 2012. Texans went to 11-1 that day with a win in Tennessee. That was a fun season. We got Ron the Show Hughley here on Texans Extra Points with us. It's Sports Radio 610 is where you do your good work in the afternoons. Let's talk about Ryan Tannehill, quarterback for the Titans. This guy loses his running back, maybe the best player in the league that's not a quarterback. Loses a guy like Julio Jones for a little bit, just keeps chugging along. This team just keeps winning. How impressed are you by Tannehill and what he's done?
He's just really, really solid, right? And I think that's a little unfair. He's solid with the ability to really make plays when need be. But in this recent run, I mean, they've had some impressive wins. They've beaten the Rams on the road, and then they just beat the Saints again. And his numbers haven't been impressive. But you got to give him some kind of credit to be able to hold this thing together because his receiving core hasn't been great either. Julio Jones is on the IR now, and he's been in and out. And Brown has had some injury issues too. But he's just been very, very solid. And you know at this point in his career, he's not losing the game for you. And at times when need be, he can go win one for you. So very impressive since he's been in Tennessee.
And the run game, it obviously takes a step back when you don't have Henry, but
Yes.
they've still been able to get things done. You bring Old Man Rivers and Adrian Peterson, which I feel so old having to say that because I remember when he could have come right out of high school and pretty much played in the league. But they're still doing stuff. Deontay Foreman used to be a Texan as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to do what they do. Like when you talk about identity, they got an identity. And it doesn't matter who it is that's back there. They're going to run the football. They're not going to say, all right, Ryan, throw it 50 times. They're not going to do that. They have an identity and they'll stick to it. And Adrian Peterson and Foreman have been good enough to carry out what they need to do. So you're impressed by their run game, and you know they're not going to stop. They're not going to get out of character with what they do. So run game is going to be there for the Texans to have to defend.
I was in Nashville late April, early May, 2-3 years ago when the draft took place, and
I was there too.
There were we should have hung out. There were a few people scratching their heads when the Titans picked Jeffrey Simmons out of Mississippi State because, hey, he's injured. What are you wasting your time on this guy for? Clearly, they knew what they were doing. This guy can play. He is a force, and he's one of the best defenders in the division, maybe if not the league.
He's a special player. Like there's a few defensive tackles right now. Obviously, Aaron Donald's in a league of his own, but he seems to be flying into that Chris Jones with the Chiefs, Buckner with the Colts. He seems to be flying in that range. And he is going to be a problem.
Yep.
And it's going to be a problem because that's an area where the Texans have struggled. And, man, what they got to do coming in, those guys up front, those three interior guys, they got to say, we cannot let Jeffrey Simmons ruin the game.
Yeah.
We can't. And we may lose, but we cannot let him just come in and ruin the game because, Drew, he has that ability.
He sure does. Okay, it's time for Texans to watch. We asked you, who is your Texan to watch against the Titans? And we're going to get to that in a minute, but we start with Ron. Who you got your eyes on, buddy?
Come on, who is it? It's Tyrod Taylor. Listen, as I said earlier, I don't know what that was about against Miami. And this is big for him and big for the Texans because you got to have him to be a calming influence and a guy that's going to be able to get you in the things you need to get in and make the right plays and sometimes make special plays. Because if he is going to be anywhere near what he was in Miami, then it should be time to see exactly what Davis Mills can do at that point. If he's going to turn the ball over in that fashion and miss throws like Danny Amendola coming down the field, it's not personal. At that point, you just got to look at Davis Mills at that point because that becomes more important than having Tyrod Taylor as a starter.
All right, so Tyrod Taylor's your guy. I'm going to go with Jonathan Grenard. It's not very creative, but listen, Ryan Tannehill's gotten sacked this year, so maybe get dislodge the ball, get some turnovers, maybe he throws a pick or something. And as for the people voted for El Toro, Roy Lopez. I like that choice. The rookie has come in. He was picked late. He was the last guy the Texans took, and he's shown up, and he's done a good job, and he has been a plus defender for you. Another little building block you got for the future. So Lopez, Grenard, and Taylor, that's who we got. Sounds like a nice law firm name, but stick with us. We've got Texans Extra Points. We've got Texans Trivia, too. The answer coming up after the break.
Texans Extra Points has been sponsored by BHP, by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by Cigna, together all the way.
We're back. Texans Extra Points. We had Texans Trivia earlier in the show, and we asked you, can you name 3 of the 6 Texans, former Texans, who are now on the Titans? You got a guess? You know some.
I think Foreman, right?
Yeah, Deontay Foreman.
Is Jones?
Ben Jones.
Ben Jones?
He was an excellent offensive lineman here, yeah.
All right, I'm fresh out now.
Okay, that's good. You got 2. You could have also gotten points for David Quessenberry. We love DQ. Kendall Lamb, offensive lineman. Randy Bullock, the kicker, and tight end. If you got this one, he was only here a little bit in 2017. Michael Pruitt, but 6 former Texans with former Texan head defensive coordinator Mike Vrabel. All right, we got to get into keys to a victory. What 2 things must the Texans do to come away victorious?
I think not one offensively, not just focus on mistakes. I think they gotta throw a little caution to the wind and just play loose and give themselves a chance to make big plays. And second, we saw what the Dolphins did to them 2 weeks ago, and that was, all right, they're not handling the blitz well. We're just going to send corners, we're going to send D-backs, and I think they've got to really improve that because it's a copycat league, and I got to believe that Mike Vrabel and company watched that film and said they're not handling that well at all. Let's mix that in. I don't think they're going to do it like the Dolphins did it, who blitzed a corner 24 times last week, but I do think they saw it on film and saw the struggle, and they got to pick that up and improve that.
Yeah, I'm with you on there. I would have gone with protection and just fix that blitz pickup that plagued you against the Dolphins. That's a good one. For me, you got to do the opposite. You got to get after Tannehill, I think. You got to make things tough on him. Don't let him just hand off and let that run game clip it away at you. So put some pressure on him. Make a play on special teams in some shape or fashion. I say this a lot. This
you
is
want that one.
Every other week. Maybe get a block punt. Take one back. We saw Desmond King a few games back have basically 17 yards of punt return the first 3 times he took one back. Let's take one all the way, perhaps. I like that. You like that?
I like that. No,
yeah. So
field position, baby.
I want something big, and then as always, you got to be +2. This team's got to be +2 in turnover differential. If they don't, even if they're positive, they've got to be positive plus a few. All right, Ron, great stuff as always. Thank you so much. Let's come back and do this again soon. You come back, do it again next week. Cool? All right. We'll see you again. This has been Texans Extra Points.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.